DOZHATOLDYA.COM. Good drink.
Don't have to tell me.
Nice little beverage.
What to put it, baby.
I gotta ask you some hard questions to make you drink harder than that, because you're gonna enjoy actually drinking this. Right, I mean, well, that's what's that segment anyway. That's what's that segment. Check. Alright. Somebody go use no headphones. Dear friend, even when you were in competition, you was friend. Even when I was on the, I've been on the other side a little bit, no saying or whatever. Most folks know that I work with female artists, and so I found myself on the other side of Holly Monroe like a time or two or whatever, and I ain't gonna front when I say I done beat the sweat that came now. Like, man, we got to go. After this, we got to come in after this performance.
Yeah.
And there's one person you do not want to come after. I mean, Duval and beyond, Florida, this side of the Mississippi. My sister here is one of the best performers. Like, she really takes it there, from the vocals to the dance moves. You know, like with the dancers, and she pretty much doing all the choreography and all that with them. And a lot of folks don't be ready for that when they call you out to come to the stage, or when they say, why the booking fee? Why it cost so much? Because she got to pay them dancers. Right. She got to have the wardrobe. I'm saying, her own photography even or whatever, like, but been doing this. I am, in case nobody don't know, this is the Roll Up podcast, DOZHATOLDYA.COM. We've been following this young lady for a very long time, and we probably should have been following her for longer than that, because she's been doing it since she was a young lady. Here in the flesh, kicking it with me for the Roll Up podcast, Miss Holly Monroe. Welcome to the Roll Up. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and I thank you for having me.
No problem.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, I mean, we just kind of like, I remember just saying, basically, as I said, kind of passing through, like, basically at performances, and like, my cousin Two-Tone really actually told me about you.
Right.
First, he was telling me he had this music thing going, and he was just telling me about some of the people he was working with, and he was just telling me, hey man, I know you're working with Pretty Eyes or whatever, but you got to watch out for Holly Monroe, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And that was Two-Tone. Right when you changed the name and when you was kind of coining the new moniker, so I didn't really know about MC Chi-Chi. But later on, as I started to do my research and started to hear about the Northside legends, MC Chi-Chi, I came to find out about MC Chi. So I don't want to go too deep, but let's start off. Let us know, like, basically the origins of MC Chi and how did you bridge that up to become Holly Monroe?
I mean, just to sum it up in a nutshell, really quick. I was MC. I was just rapping. I never knew I could sing at a young age. I mean, I was in chorus and dance and like I was in everything. I went to a school of performing arts. So I started out doing music as MC Chi. I was signed to New East Records based out of Atlanta, Georgia, when I was 8 years old or whatnot. And that was like the start of my professional career. After that, you know, you get older. I was going through phases. I was going through changes. Or, you know, you start growing up. I went through the whole little Aaliyah phase with the sports bra and the baggy jeans and whatnot. Then I went off to college. So I was still doing music as Chi. Then I moved back to Jacksonville in 2010. That's around about time when I started running into you and Pretty Eyes. 2010, 2011, I came back and I was like, I'm an adult now, but I still want to do music. And I was still going to go by just Chi. But every studio I walked into and everywhere I went, they was like, Lil Chi. They kept saying, Lil Chi. And I was like, I am not little. And then I would play music and they'd be like, oh my God. And when I came back here, I had a whole kid. So I was just like, I had to separate the kid from the adult. So that's when I coined myself as Holly Monroe, just to switch up the vibe and introduce a more mature side of myself.
Okay, and right. So that's what it was. You was away. And
yeah.
why?
I went to college. I graduated from the University of Florida. I went off to college, moved to Atlanta, lived my life for a little bit. And had a baby and came home. And
before that, you went to Range, right?
Vikings all day.
Okay, Northside bread, Range Vikings. So that's what it was. Cause I was like, how she just showed up out of nowhere?
Yeah. A lot of people thought I just showed up and they was like, how she getting them? Yeah, no.
I'm just gonna be free. Like you kind of did show up, and it was like okay. But it was very cordial, professional, and talented.
Yeah.
And it was a performance at Plush. It was like some performance at Plush, and you tore that shit up, and I was like, oh shit, we might have a couple of problems on our hands. I mean, I always felt like I respect the female, you know what I'm saying, artists in hip hop. I felt as if it was just a great way it garnered a little more attention, and it was a little more you have to just kind of be on your toes, like far as like with the booking and making sure the room's right. Yep. Like there's a lot of like rules that I didn't know about working with the fellas.
It's different. And a lot of people don't get it. It's different.
Like, and I then started realizing that basically why it should be just more to book, from the dancers to the hair to the wardrobe to, you know, the nails, like everything. Basically, y'all get y'all package together way before y'all even get there. Y'all spending so much money.
Yes.
So I took that as like a crash course, and I started to get accustomed to like basically just knowing the ins and outs of working with a female artist. And I think that now a lot of people, pretty much the world pretty much caught up to itself with hip hop, and now female artists are the forefront. Can you talk to us about how it was basically then, because you was doing it since a child, so it was like the contrast from being a female artist then to now, to where they're so much more so in the forefront in hip hop.
I really think that the reason that we have like the cream has rose to the top, is like as I would like to put it, because we are the cream of the crop, the female, is basically because we've started becoming more dominant. We've started to, you know, not being afraid to say what we want to say, not being afraid to put different things and talk about different situations. So we as women have showed up, and we're competing. We're no longer just sitting back saying, okay, we're competing with female artists anymore. And I felt like back then it was more of a separation. It was like a female category and it was a male category. Mm-hmm. But now I feel like it's like, who's the dopest rap artist? Like Nicki stood up to going 10 toes down with these guys. You got Remy standing, with the giants. So I feel like it opened up more doors, so it's enough room for more of us to be at the top versus it always having to be one dominant female. And it's no longer just a Lil Kim. It's no longer just, you know what I'm saying, an MC Light, or no longer just Queen Latifah. It's a plethora of us now.
Yeah, and I feel like not only from nationwide, but in the city, we wasn't used to it, for one.
Yeah.
And it was always basically pit Holly Monroe versus Pretty Eyes, or pit Tokyo Jets versus Chameleon. And now I feel like 2020, 2021, it was like, hey man, like the numbers just started exploding as far as Duval artists in period. But I feel like you guys are some of the cream of the crop out of the city. And even when I put together my list, right, y'all check out DOZHATOLDYA.COM, top artists of 2021. I included Holly Monroe into that list. And the reason, I mean, it was 19. I mean, but I can say I have a little favoritism, but at the same time, I know your work, right? I know your work on the social media. I know your work on the stage. I know your work in the studio.
Right.
More so than other folks might know. So that list was my list, but at the same time, it was a list to be reckoned with, because I feel like the only difference that I see out of these other, I ain't gonna say these other, but other podcasts or media places, is that they kind of forget about the female artists or whatever. Yeah. Like when it comes to who's doing what out of the city, out of the state, out of the region, it's like they try to overwhelm.
I agree.
Overwhelm the list with so many up and coming, you know what I'm saying, popular guys.
Yeah, I agree.
Over talented women who basically are dancing, singing, rapping, and looking good.
I agree.
And you are one of those women, and I feel like it was just time for it. Now I know I said a lot, but coming in at number 19 and it being a lot of other rappers, being pitted against whoever, how do you feel or whatever, like where you fit in the Duval, the new Duval music scene?
I mean, I take that with an honor, like just to be mentioned. You know what I mean? Like to be mentioned on someone's list, or to be a thought, to be on a list of, who's doing what, or who's making moves, and who's putting up numbers. There's a lot of different ways you can look at artists, and a lot of times we tend to look at popularity or what we like. And a lot of times I feel like my music is not necessarily for the culture of Duval a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that, because for me, everyone has an audience. Everyone has a fan base. As long as your fan base is supporting you, every time I book myself, and then when I promote it, it's packed. So I'm doing something right as far as my fan base. My fan base might not be, and I definitely have support from Duval. That's no lie. I have it. However, it may not be for the majority.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. And I'm not bitter. I'm not upset. I don't feel
and some
any
folks
kind
might
of way.
They might not get it right now. They might not get it right now, and whether or not you win them around is not really the mission, but you just basically have a hard work ethic. So when folks like me, when I see that and I know that, I've always been like so very adamant about it. And but I came back to Jacksonville, whatever. Like after knowing, I already knew what you know, some of your songs, basically when you was on the mixtape and kind of rapping. But I came back to Jacksonville and it was like this singing that you were doing,
right?
And it was like your whole sound expanded.
Yeah.
You went from, I mean, for one, let's talk about WD-40.
Yep.
And working with MGZ, and that was a sound, and then it even expanded even more.
Yep.
But with WD-40, let's talk about basically like the making of that song and the relationship that it began with you and MGZ.
So WD-40 was one of the first records. It was the second record I did with MGZ. President introduced me to MGZ when I first came back because I was trying to, find my place. And I was working out at Now and Never Studios, which was right next door to Saw Money at the time when I first came back. And I was looking for something different. So President was like, I'm going to put you with MGZ. Meet me at this location, 7 o'clock. So I was like, I'm there. So at that time I had bought, he was doing like a three beat pack or whatever. So he was like, I'll do 3 beats for X, Y, and Z. So the first record I did was like a pop record because I wanted to do something poppy. So I did Nightlife with MGZ. And then the second one, he was like, nah, we doing something different. And we dropped WD-40 because he was like, I feel like you need to let them know. Because I was getting so much, like you said, like when I came back, I felt like people, they was like, who is this girl? Like everybody just being nice to her. Like she ain't earned her stripes. Like they just thought like you said, people just thought I just popped up out of nowhere and they just like, oh, Holly. And it's not that. Like I've been grinding and I've earned my stripes. Yeah. So that's how WD-40 came along. Jesus was like, say that shit and let them know. Let them know it's me. Loosen up, bitch.
Right. Stop being so uptight. When another queen walk in the building, like stop.
Because I'm really just like a happy-go-lucky, like fun. Like I don't do all that beefing. I don't even bring with a whole entourage or clique or none of that. Like
but you probably ruffled the little feathers or whatever. Like just naturally, and that was the perfect single to come out with, whatever, just to let these folks know, like, look, man, I'm here, loosen up, like, get off the wall, like, and it was, like, it got supported, but it could have got supported a little more, but it's still a great single, and I love the fact that you still perform that single to this day.
Because every time when they hear that intro, the first thing people do, they be like, oh, that's Holly.
Yeah.
And then all I got to do is sing the hook, and the crowd gonna sing the rest of it for me because they just love that. So I use that to grab, and it's like an attention grabber anytime I have a concert.
And speaking of your sound, like that was one of the first songs that kind of solidified your sound, right? But again, your sound exploded after you worked with the producer Tazio. Like after you start working with Tazio,
Ike Turner.
It was like it's hard for me to explain the light years. Your music just took off.
Yeah.
And I was shocked. I was impressed, shocked. I just had to tell somebody. Like Dozha told you, I had to tell somebody, and I told a few folks. But let's talk about Tazio as a producer, as a mentor, as a sparring partner.
Yes. Sparring partner, he is.
What does he add to the sound of Holly Monroe?
So it's no lie, but if I had never, I'm gonna give props where props is due. Between MGZ and Tazio, like I really found myself in like what I wanted to sound like, and I feel like I kind of carved like just a little lane for myself. Like there's a lot of people that what we call now strapping, which is kind of like sing rapping. It's a lot of people who do that, but however, I feel like when I do it, it's just a little bit for myself there. But Tazio is such an amazing talent. And when I first met him, I met him at Shop Boy Studios. and he was hired to work on a record with me. And after that first record, he reached out to me and he was like when somebody believe in your talent just as much as you believe in your talent, it's an amazing feeling. Because now it's like magic every time we create a record. Every time we in the studio together, it's magic. Only thing about Atazio, like you said, a sparring partner, like I'm not leaving the studio until the sun is up because he like sang it again. Sang it again. One more time, anime. Sang it again. And he's a perfectionist, but I am too, especially when it comes to the stage. But in the studio, he's a perfectionist. I'll be like, just slide it a little bit. Can you mellow down it a little bit or inch it back? He like, no. Sing it. You could do it. Sing it.
And definitely brought out the best in you.
He did. I ain't gonna lie.
And
my pen even got better working with him.
Yeah, I mean, cause you already good,
yeah.
And it just, I think it took you from local artists to national artists as far as sound, and but there's still like basically you so diverse that you like hit a lot of pockets. But one thing I do like basically that makes your music stand out and it worries me a little bit is you are so raw, like you give it to them raw, like
you're a little raunchy.
Like you give it to them when you give it to them, and then it's like, so you got Hell Nah, and like basically just even coming with that type of record, a man don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear it.
So now,
like, basically, I ain't saying like as far as like, I don't want to hear it, but it's like that's like the words you don't want to walk into their house.
I smell rubber on your dick. They don't want to hear that.
So like, how did you write a song like that? Like,
so funny you should say that a man don't want to hear that. So I work with a lot. I mean, I feel like iron sharpens iron. So I try and surround myself with people who inspire me, who are going to motivate me. So as you know, Atazio is one of my mentors. My other mentor is Tyrone, the Lord of Lust.
Yeah.
So Tyrone was the one who actually came up with the concept. The concept was originally for Maya,
the national recording artist.
Yeah, Maya.
Okay, shout out to that.
She was afraid of the record.
Okay. And you ain't afraid of a
what
record
I
like
said, that. Brother. Hand that over here. I'll finish it for you. And guess what I did? Finished him.
Yeah.
So that's how Hell Nah came about. Like I said, it was a concept created by Tyrone. And it was originally he had the concept for for Maya, and her team passed on the record, and he presented me the record, and I was like, hell yeah. But hell no.
And I'm glad you did. Shout out to T-Rone. I'm glad you mentioned your other mentor, because there's a lot of records that y'all got together.
Yeah.
That's like,
and I'm waiting on him too.
I know the records, and then for a second it was like he was like right there about doing, you know what I'm saying, coming. Then he kind of like, come on now, T-Rone, stop playing with us now, you know what I'm saying? You got them records now, free them records.
Right.
All records can
live.
COVID
is over. It ain't over, but it is what it is.
Right.
Let's go.
Let them records live, man. But yeah, so the Lord of the Lust do have a particular style about him. And I Smell Rubber on Your Dick does kind of fit up under that criteria. But just even living with that record, right? And not being afraid of that record, but it's so raunchy. Like, talk about the struggles on getting that record, like getting people to really even just accept that record.
So it's weird, like where we are in the industry, because we can say it just depends. Like, so saying I smell rubber on your dick is hard to hear for a female to say. Right. However, on the flip side,
wet and gushy is not.
Throat baby.
Yeah, throat baby. Like, I still, yeah.
You know, there's like so many things, but when it's offensive for like, it's not cute, it's not dainty, it's not plated well because a female is saying it. You know, it kind of makes people cringe. But it's funny that with my independent label, that's the record that they was like, this is a huge record. It was like, this is huge. This is a statement. This is like Lizzo. They wanted something that made a statement. And I felt like it was a huge statement. But you do have people that are still very, you know, cringing and gripping their pearls like, oh my God, did she say that? And who actually smells a man dick? But I've been there. So I wasn't afraid. So I wasn't afraid to say it. I wasn't afraid to say, like, I've been in that. So when we wrote the lyrics,
yeah,
there was some true lyrics.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm just gonna kind of keep it going on. Let's talk about the success of the record and how did you feel when it started to take off, and how did it start to take off as a TikTok phenomenon?
That was crazy and unexpected. And I did kind of get some backlash for it. So it was kind of crazy. So the record did amazing. Especially overseas, out in Virginia area, Cali, like that whole West Coast, like they grabbed the record and ran away with it. Then one of the a TikTok star, Sky Beauty, she's like major and huge on TikTok. She did a TikTok, and after that, it was over. Like the TikTok went viral, and then just like that, the TikTok went viral. So the streams went through the roof. Then I had got all these kids doing the TikTok because Sky Beauty, because you know that's all kids do.
Yeah.
So all these kids was doing this. So I was just reposting, me thinking, I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm reposting all the TikToks. Like, okay, do the TikTok. It's a TikTok challenge. And then I started getting people on there like, why you got these kids dancing to this? I'm like, I don't have these kids. Where are their parents? So, I mean, what you want me to do?
I'm glad, like, yeah, because see, even I didn't know that. Like, I basically was like, hey, they doing the dance. I see them do challenges to a lot of different challenges.
That's the thing. Kids are innocent until you bring it to their attention. A lot of times they weren't listening to. They not thinking about exactly what I'm saying. They thinking about doing the TikTok. Like when I was growing up, we danced to Uncle Luke. Yeah. Just that we down south. We danced to pop,
put it in your mouth
pop.
And
yeah.
We was doing a lot of pee popping back then. You know what I'm saying? We were pushing pee.
Pushing pee. And didn't even know we was pushing pee. So it's just like sometimes we as an adults, we take the innocence away from children and make it into something that it's really not. So I had to block a lot of people. I was like, hey, get off my page for that.
So once that started to take off, the success of that record, things start to change a little bit in the music. Like basically you start to like see more of a future into the music as far as with the success of that record.
Absolutely. When that record was moving, that was right around the beginning of COVID. So I was set to do like a major radio tour, promo tour. I had some shows lined up, and then it was like, California shut down, New York shut down. Okay, everything is shutting down. So the way I kept my wave going though, because at that time I was hot, which I'm still hot, but the record was moving. So I had ended up getting a lot of feature play because the only thing I could do was stay at home and record. So I have a lot of major features coming out because of the movement of that record. So I can't even be mad.
And it was like basically let's slow down for a second, regroup, and now it's getting about that time.
It's grind time again.
It's grind time.
It's time to go.
And so that's where a couple of like you start to disappear on us. And you start going out there to Cali a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you made a statement, or it was a post or something. You was like, hey, everybody that need their songs or features or whatever, like, hey, lock in now. Like, she let y'all know, like, lock in now because shit's finna go up. Now, COVID might have slowed things a little bit down, but it's, you know what I'm saying, that rocket still got a lot of spark, man. That thing finna shoot back right to the moon. So I'm real excited about, you know what I'm saying, the music that you holding on to, that you know, and I want to get into some of the from pop that to some of the newer music like Twerk on the Car and a couple of other things I want to talk about. Whatever, we got to take a quick little break. But yeah, I'm finna actually play some of these hits that we've been talking about, man. So let's get into Hell Nah. And I want to talk about Real One too.
Okay.
I want to talk about Real One because that was like, you had this record that I really, really liked, and it was out, and then it went away. So we got that to talk about and more. I got Holly Monroe on the roll up this week, man, and we just getting started. So let me get my drink together. Let me finish rolling up, and let's see what we don't want to hear when we walk in the house, fellas. Let's hear what we don't want to hear right now when we walk in the house, hey man. Shout out to T-Rone, man. The Lord.
DOZHATOLDYA.COM.